Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
You're going to encounter very slow traffic going in, very slow traffic going out, and people don't always know how to drive in weather like this. And so that's the biggest part that I would say is, if you don't have to go, don't go. It is on TV, and I think that's best for everybody to know that. But if you do go, you need to plan for a lot of standing traffic, and you need to plan for a lot of rain and a lot of mud in that football game.
Yeah, ordinarily, I might make a joke here about what Governor Haley is saying there, but this is no joking business. Even though I'm in St. Louis and it's beautiful skies and 65 degrees here, just a gorgeous day in Missouri. I know back in South Carolina, it's going to get rough. And so no joke about that. The governor is making a legitimate plea to people. And, you just have to decide by yourself or amongst your people if you're going to heed her warning or head up to Death Valley for the game tomorrow night. Welcome in Sports Talk here on a Football Friday. Once again, into football-wise, should be a great weekend. It's an important weekend. It's a big weekend. Unfortunately, back in South Carolina, of course, you've got to deal with the weather concerns, which truly trumps everything, guys. Kornbluth here in Missouri to cover the Gamecocks and the Missouri Tigers tomorrow afternoon at noon Eastern Time. Kevin McCrary back in Columbia. He'll head up to Clemson. He will not heed the governor's warnings. He will go to Clemson tomorrow to cover whatever happens. And Professor Tom Hayes, he will heed the governor's warning. So we've got it both ways. We've got one of you going up and one of you staying home.
Yeah, pro's the smart one.
Well, who you think told the governor what to say?
It was surreal.
It
was surreal, though. She was going into this, stay home. We're going to have record flooding, record rainfall. The FEMA's getting involved, the Coast Guard, National Guard, all these people are going to be on call. And then somebody says, what about that football game? And she's like, oh, yeah, about that football game. I mean, 80,000 people converging on Clemson with record rainfall and potential flooding. This is going to be an interesting matchup. And she essentially said, don't go. Mm-hmm. Don't go. Stay home and watch it on TV. But Clemson saying, hey, come on. We can take you. ESPN, I think Reese Davis tweeted earlier, don't let the rain scare you away. And who knows? But I will be there, Corn, for better or for worse. 15% chance that this is my last show ever, but I will be there.
You're right. The rain doesn't scare anybody. It's the stuff in the rain. People who can't drive, cars, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, driving at night in the rain after tailgating in all day. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Plenty of black coffee, please.
It's a tough call. I mean, the fans, they want to be there. This is the game they have been pointing to all season long. It's the rare opportunity to have Notre Dame in your backyard. You want to be there for that. But safety trumps everything. No question about it. We'll take some phone calls on the issue when we come back. right, phone number 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @sportstalksc, our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Coming up, David Shelton will be here to talk about, had a bunch of high school games last night, a lot of games being played early tonight, some games postponed until Monday. But how about Spartanburg beating Burns last night for the first time since 2001? Don't forget the high school scoreboard shows tonight. Those will go on as scheduled, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11 o'clock. Check those out on our affiliates around the state. We'll have the Governors here at the bottom of the hour. We'll have Lee Sterling Picks at 6:45. Buddy Pugh, South Carolina State, he'll join us at a little bit after 7 o'clock tonight. Full Monty on NASCAR at 7:30. No qualifying today because of the weather. They might not have any racing at Dover with this stuff moving to the northeast. It is Matt Kenseth on the pole if there is a race to be run on Sundays. We have a full boat of great stuff for you tonight here on Sports Talk. Recruiting as well coming up for you, too. Before we get to calls, K-Mac, what is the word out of Clemson? What are they telling people this afternoon?
All right. First of all, the game will go off as scheduled, 8:22 tomorrow. The statement from Clemson: we've been in constant communication with state and local law enforcement and have monitored weather throughout the week. And today, Director of Athletics Dan Radakovich said, I've spoken with campus leaders, State Highway Patrol, and Governor Haley and feel confident we can play the game as scheduled. We ask our fans to be conscientious arriving and departing from our campus, as we will have some limitations due to this ongoing weather event. ESPN College Game Day will originate from Bowman Field as scheduled from 9 to 12 Saturday morning. Bowman Field opens at 6 a.m. Sports Center, which had planned to be at that location at 7 a.m. and Game Day Radio scheduled for 12 to 3 will no longer be held at Bowman Field. Season ticket holders able to travel to the game are urged to use the Clemson Athletic Ticket Transfer to send tickets to others able to attend the game. And season ticket holders can go to the ClemsonTigers.com website and put in their information there for that. Parking information. Several grass lots will be limited in capacity due to the wet conditions, including lots 1, 2, and 13. Lot 1 has lost 130 parking spaces. Patrons with a Lot 1 or Lot 2 parking pass wishing to stay on a solid surface are encouraged to park at the C1 parking lot at Perimeter Road and use shuttle service to the library parking lot. Once Lot 1 is full, remaining vehicles with Lot 1 parking passes will be directed to C1. Lot 2 has also lost several parking spaces due to standing water and will be parked as an area lot in the order that patrons with the pass arrive. Lot 13 is open but may be limited. Fans in all grass parking lots are encouraged to carpool or consolidate automobiles office at Tri-County Technical College with those having paved lot spots. So
all right. They're doing what they can. This is look, I don't want to be sitting here as a doomsday guy. I mean, they're kind of rolling the dice on this thing. If this thing really, if you're on with the game and you've got the people there and there's 75,000 people there, and this thing turns like into a real perfect storm sort of deal with the rain blowing in really, really hard and the wind, gusting at 30, 40 miles an hour, you could have some real issues in and around that stadium in terms of things flying around and people trying to find shelter and the parking situation, the getting out of the parking lots, getting into the parking. They're kind of rolling the dice on this thing, but I guess they feel confident that they can handle whatever may come their way tomorrow during the day and tomorrow night.
Yeah, and the weather's so unpredictable. Maybe they feel like they're not going to get the brunt of this. And our news guy just came in here a couple minutes ago, Matt Long, and told us that the latest forecast has it shifting a little bit closer to Charlotte. You never know, and it's an inexact science in terms of predicting how much rain is going to fall. But everybody to a T that's been following this, from the governor to local weather forecasters to the National Weather Service, are saying the potential is there for a historic weather event. So you got to take that pretty serious.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, 800-956-7266. That's our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Thoughts on that? We'll get to your calls in just a second. I know, K-Mac, I know you watch Twitter very closely, and I was checking it once I got off the plane just to see what people have been talking about. I know I did not see tweets from some Gamecock people expressing some glee over the issues at Clemson with this weather situation.
I didn't sense that. I didn't see that. I think there's been some people wondering what's happening. I'll say this: when Governor Haley was having her news conference around 3:30 today, I think that news conference was, and she's talking about the National Guard and sandbags and flooding and telling people not to go out unless they absolutely have to. And then I'm seeing Clemson moments later saying games on as scheduled. This is where you can park. This is where you can't. I'm thinking, as we all know, it's a big deal at game day at any, at Clemson or at South Carolina, when you have 80,000 plus people that are going to be traveling these roads that the governor of the state, who's already issued a state of emergency, is saying are going to be flooded and dangerous. It's kind of goofy. I mean, those two things don't really coalesce very well.
Well, her one statement here, I mean, this statement is if you don't have to go to the game, then don't go. Well, I mean, nobody has to go to the game.
The players.
Wait a minute, hold it.
Who has to go to a college football game?
Nobody has to go.
Well,
there's no.
That's one of the things about South Carolina, though. You have to go to a game.
Well, I mean, I get that. I get that. But, it's not one of those things where there's somebody holding a gun to your head saying you got to go.
It's not like you have to go to your dialysis. But here's the thing. How many people aren't going to go? How much of an impact is this going to have on the crowd tomorrow night?
4,000.
Just 4,000?
I predict just 4.
Hey, don't forget no umbrellas in that stadium tomorrow, too. Of course, if you had an umbrella in there, it's probably going to fly to the moon.
Ponchos are now $50, though. They supply and demand. That's capitalism, folks.
All right, real quick, let's jump to the phones, 800-956-7266. Phil Kornblut in St. Louis, everybody else back in Columbia. And we go to where? Steak Man. Brian in Charleston. Ooh, what's it doing down in Charleston, Brian?
It's raining there, Phil. It's a lot of rain. I'm on the Don Hope Bridge right now. It's raining pretty good, brother.
How about flooding?
Downtown there's a lot of streets: King Street, Meeting Street, the Market Street, East Bay. Portions of those streets are shut down completely. It's nasty, to say the least. Would you like me to be the first one to fire a cannonball across the bow of the ship?
Fire away.
Because all dirt roads lead to Clemson. All dirt roads lead to Clemson. Oh, Bubba, and is it Tiger Tom? Them fellas up there that got mud grips on the tires, mud grips on their trucks, they're going to be fine. And people from Notre Dame, they're going to have to try to find some mud grip tires. Or they're going to be SOL. Okay. There's something about the kicker from Independence High School that's in Charlotte. I forget the kid's name. He's the left-footed kicker. He's got an NFL leg on him.
If he does, he hasn't told me.
My Knights walked all over Somerville last night. Joe called it make any right calls. I wanted to put that out there.
I saw that. I saw where Somerville went down in a heap last night. Somerville went down. Burns went down. Fort Dorchester won. Didn't score their normal 40 points, but they did win. Thank you for the phone call. We'll check on that kicker when we get a chance to. I'm seeing some things on Twitter here, K-Mac, that people kind of making fun of Clemson in this rain situation up there. Nah. We got to come together as a state here now. We can't be picking. Hey, think about this, too, as if you need another reason to hate ESPN and its big brother, ABC. If this game weren't on television, if television didn't control everything in sports, you could play this game, but you could play it early in the day. You could play it at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock before the weather got really, really, really bad, and while you had daylight to work with. You know, one of the real dangers of this thing is of course the storm itself, guys, but it's dealing with everything at night. It's dealing with things at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, especially after you've had all these people sitting around all day getting sauced.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be, I would think probably, and I may be speaking out of school here, but I would suspect that, you know, reliable people will kind of take it easy because of the conditions. You would hope if they go out, please exercise extreme caution and patience because you want to get back home after the football game.
All right, let's welcome in David Shelton of the High School Sports Report and the Charleston Post and Courier. High school football report tonight brought to you by Farm Bureau. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. David, have you slept at all? I mean, it's been nonstop high school football for you from last night through tonight and into, I guess, next Monday.
Yeah, I mean, today's been pretty chill. I'm gonna rest a little bit tonight. I'm not going out anywhere because there's nowhere to go. And but Monday I'll be busy. So you kind of pay for it at some point. Monday night will be the busiest Monday night I think I've had in a long, long time.
What about last night? A lot of games played last night. You had Spartanburg finally beating Burns. Somerville lost. Fort Dorchester won solidly once again. Let's talk about Spartanburg and Burns. And Feaster probably had his best rushing game of the season today.
Yeah, I believe he did. I think he had about 124 yards. And, I think what Spartanburg does with him is when people load the box and decide they're going to try to take him away, they throw the ball to Tavares Scott or to Feaster. But yeah, it was a good game. I got to follow most of it on Twitter and, almost like if you follow all of them, you get to follow play-by-play, really. And, it was a good football game, and Burns just couldn't gain. And I think what you're seeing, and I think what people need to understand is as good as Spartanburg is offensively, they're pretty good on defense too, and that makes them a dangerous team. Last year they gave up some stuff, but they were outscoring people. They can still score, but this year they're a little better on the defensive side, and that's going to make them real hard to beat.
All right, real quick, I guess one of the surprises last night, Camden beating AC Flora.
Yep, that one was probably the upset of the night. Camden had been struggling. AC Flora, maybe a little flat coming off loss to Airport last week, but nonetheless, I think AC Flora should have won the game. But that's a big win for Neal and Camden.
Okay, David, thank you, man. Enjoy your night off because everything's wiped out in the Low Country. In the first quarter, Chapin leads Richland Northeast 7-0. Mid Carolina leads Columbia High 14-0. And it's that's it for now. We'll give you more scores as they come in. is that time of the week where we dip into the minds of the great thinkers of our times, the former governors. It's our football filibuster. We welcome in former governors Jim Hodges and David Beasley. And I got to believe, we'll start with you, Governor Hodges. I got to believe on a situation like this in South Carolina, to play or not to play, you're probably happy you're the former governor and not having to stand up there and tell people, if you don't have to go, don't go.
You're right. The weather is so unpredictable. I'm in Kentucky today where it's pouring rain, but when you look at something like 6 to 8 inches of rain over a couple of days, that's pretty phenomenal. So, yeah, I don't envy those who are having to make those decisions regarding the sporting weekend, but more importantly, a lot of important life or death decisions that people could face.
This is true. Governor Beasley, we know you're a big Clemson man. We know you go to the games. We know you've been pointing towards this one. Are you going to heed the governor's warning or not?
Well, I'm actually not going to heed his warning. I'm going to heed my wife's warning. She broke her arm and said, I'm not going to go up there with a cast for about 10 hours. We're going to watch it from home. So I'll be an obedient husband. I said, yes, ma'am.
There you go. Smart move. I was actually referring to Governor Haley's warning to don't go. If you don't have to go, don't go. So you don't have to go. So you stay home and take care of the missus.
Well, I like Jim's warning pretty good.
Well, smart move on both of your parts. One of you's out of state and one of you's going to stay home. That's good. That's good. All right, let's get to the competition. And look at this. Governor Beasley, you are all even with Governor Hodges. You're both 21 and 19, 6-4 for Governor Beasley last week, 4-6 for Governor Hodges. So, Governor Beasley, your fine performance this season continues. You have come back a new man in picking these games.
Well, it's about time. It's been several years in the making, but it's another week for another disaster or another victory. Who knows? Time will tell.
Let's get to it. We got 10 great games for you to break down, and Governor Beasley will let you start once again, and we'll start out with West Virginia at Oklahoma. 2 top 25 teams, and Oklahoma's laying 7 points here. Governor Beasley, what do you think?
I tell you what, as the season gets on, they're getting tougher. I'm going to go with West Virginia. I think with the 7 points, I think West Virginia's got a good enough defense to keep it within a touchdown. So, West Virginia.
Yeah, right now the best defense in the country statistically. Governor Hodges.
I think I'm going to do the same. That's the hard one to pick, and because of their defense, 7 points seems like an awful lot. So I think I'm going to pick the Mountaineers as well.
Very good. Mississippi State at Texas A&M. And A&M is favored by 6.5. Governor Beasley.
I think Texas A&M's going to win, but I don't think it's 6.5. I think it's a field goal. I'm picking in Mississippi State.
You want the points? You got the points, Governor Hodges.
Yeah, I feel the same way. As the season goes on, A&M seems to have closer games, and Mississippi State was pretty darn good last week. So I think I'm going to take Texas A. I'm going to take Mississippi State.
Very good. Arkansas, Tennessee, both looking to bounce back from tough losses last week. Governor Beasley, the Vols at home, giving up 6.5.
I tell you, with all the rain, 50,000 fans will be on boats going to that Tennessee stadium. I'm going with Tennessee in the rain, and Arkansas just not even going to be close. That 6.5 won't cover it.
Yeah, those Vol fans, they know how to operate boats around their stadium. Unlike Clemson fans, that might be a bit of a struggle for them. Governor Hodges, who do you like in this one?
I like Arkansas. I think Tennessee's going to win, but Arkansas looked much better last week, and I think they're a pretty powerful team. Tennessee will probably win it, but I think 6.5 is too many. So I'll take the Hogs.
All right, you got them. Let's go to the other big SEC games. Ole Miss at Florida. Gators at home getting 7.5. Governor Beasley, what say?
I think the Gators I don't think they quite got the offense to make it happen. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
Kelly, what do you say, Governor Hodges?
I'm going with the Gators. Ole Miss is mighty good, but again, 7.5 points at home is too many. So I'll take Florida.
Governor Beasley, you're chuckling You sound like you sound like you've pulled one over on the governor here. You think, huh?
Let me tell you, every time I thought I had a good one, I got surprised.
All right, let's try Alabama at Georgia, and it's Georgia at home, favored by 2.5. Governor Beasley.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have to make the Alabama girl a little unhappy. I just think of those points, a field goal. I'm gonna pick the Bulldogs being down there between the hedges.
Georgia at home, laying 2.5. Governor Hodges.
I don't know why, but I'm going to pick Bama on this. I know Georgia looked mighty good against us, but I just don't see Nick Saban having another game where they lay down like they have on a few of them. So I'm going to take Bama.
Very good. To the ACC, Governor Hodges, you shall lead us now, and it's Wake getting 19 at home against Florida State.
Gosh, that's the I mean, Florida State quite what they were last year, but 19 points is a lot. I think I'm gonna take Florida State though.
Governor Beasley?
I think Jim's right. I think State's offensive struggles, but they've got enough talent to overcome that gap, I believe.
Both of you want the Seminoles. Louisville at NC State, unbeaten Wolfpack, laying 4.5. Governor Hodges.
Louisville's been a little bit of a disappointment this year. I'm going to take NC State since they're playing at home.
Okay, Governor Beasley.
That's probably a wise choice there, but I just keep thinking Louisville's going to get it together. It's going to be a close one, but I will go with Louisville. Give it a shot.
Louisville, take the Cardinals. Very nice. North Carolina at Georgia Tech. Tech is favored by 7, despite their recent issues. Governor Hodges.
Yeah, they played at home, and they got beat last week and were pretty disappointing. I think they'll bounce back and be much stronger. So
okay. Governor Beasley?
Boy, I tell you, this is a tough one. I tend to think Governor's right. I've been bouncing back and forth on this one all day long. I was going to say Tech's going to win and pick in UNC because of the 7, but at home field, I think they're going to win a touchdown. I'm going with Tech, too.
You want Georgia Tech as well. All right. South Carolina and Missouri out here in very nice Missouri, 65 degrees, sunny skies today. Missouri favored by 2.5 at home in the freshman quarterback bowl. Governor Hodges.
Well, last week I took the points for Central Florida, and the Gamecocks won. So I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to take Missouri because the Gamecocks couldn't do the opposite of what I picked. I'm a little worried about that. This is a road game, and Missouri lost last week, so I'm going to take Missouri.
Taking Missouri, they seldom lose under Gary Pinkel. They seldom lose back-to-back games. Governor Beasley.
Well, I definitely believe there's going to be a victory in Columbia, but I think it's going to be the wrong one. And I'm with Jim. I'm going to pick Missouri. I think this could be tight, but I think this could probably be a field goal, and you're going to need one more point in there. So, Mizzou.
Mizzou it is for you. And Clemson, Notre Dame, I just checked, and the line I'm seeing now is Clemson favored by 1.5. So we'll roll with that instead of the pick 'em. We'll roll with Clemson laying 1.5 now. Governor Hodges.
Well, that's essentially a pick 'em, isn't it? 1.5. It's not much difference. I'm going to take Clemson. They're playing at home, and this seems to be a really good year for them, and they've got an outstanding quarterback, which frequently makes a difference. So I'll take the Tigers.
All right, Governor Beasley.
I'm hoping that Watson's going to have the game of his life, and Clemson's going to send a message to the old lady at Tiger Town, Death Valley, and so I'm going with Jim as well. Clemson Tigers.
Okay. I don't know who the old lady is you're referring to, but we'll ask you that another time. Governors, we thank you very much. Appreciate your insights, and you guys have a safe weekend wherever you happen to be. That's the football filibuster for tonight, and we'll be back with Lee Sterling.
Time to put your money where your mouth is. Put them in the field and let them fight it out.
He's a hustler. If you don't got eggs, you won't be getting no sticks. And if you don't got money, you won't super honey. If you don't got cash, you won't be getting no. He's a gambler. Bet the house on the young and then we got paid.
Show them the next item up for bid. All right, time to get some professional advice. We could all use some professional advice from time to time. We welcome in Lee Sterling with his Sterling picks coming off a 500 week, 1-1-1. I guess that's 500. You didn't win, you didn't lose. So I guess you're okay with that to some degree, huh?
So we want to win, though. So we've got 4 games. I think I can smell a 3-1 coming around.
Well, let's hope so. Of course, you've got a lot of weather to factor into games around the Southeast. And how does that impact point spreads? When they know it's going to be messy in a lot of places.
Well, here's what's interesting. A lot of totals come down 2 to 3 points when they hear weather. And these games where, it's going to be a light rain, unless it's a torrential downpour, when the total comes down, I a lot of times wait until post time, and then 5 minutes before the game, I fire on the over, because these quarterbacks these days, these college pro quarterbacks, they have such huge hands. They don't have trouble throwing a wet ball. And you do see some fumbles take place, but those usually are turned into points. So the public will go under. The sharps usually go over, and that's one of the small ways I've been successful over the year. In fact, totals in college football that move more than 2.5 points on weather go over the posted total over 56.1% of the time the last 10 years.
All right, very good. Let's get to the games you have for us tonight, and let's begin with Ole Miss and Florida, and Ole Miss laying 7 in the Swamp.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is the better team. There's no doubt about that. Now, Will Greer's coming out. Found out looks like he's got the flu. I think he's still going to play. You might see Treon Harris come in, and he's a good change-of-pace quarterback. Maybe a guy you don't want starting 4 or 5 games, but to give a different look, I don't mind him in the game. And it's a game of matchups. Even though Ole Miss is better, it's their vaunted passing attack versus the stingy Gator secondary. You're going to see a lot of guys from the Gator secondary drafted in the NFL and pretty high, and they got a pretty good pass rush. I think for Ole Miss to win this game, their D and their special teams is going to have to come through, and I think pressure here is starting to build on Ole Miss. I think they're going to escape 24-20, but I like the Gators plus the points.
And that would only, if he has a decent game, that would only elevate Chad Kelly in the Heisman Trophy talk.
I think it's going to be tough for him to win. It's going to be real tough. I mean, if Nick Chubb loses, he's going to get knocked out. Fournette's obviously the leader. It's going to be tough. But anything can happen.
We can argue this, but right now, Chad Kelly leads the SEC in passing. Mm-hmm. He's got great numbers. His team is undefeated. His team is number 3 in the country. 2 teams that were
scrubs. They played 1 team.
And who has LSU played? Who has LSU played?
Auburn.
Yeah.
No, they played.
Let's wait a while. Let's wait a month. Let's see how it goes.
Corn just is in love with Chad. I mean, he wants to have little Chad Kelly babies.
I talked about him before the year. I told everyone about him. And there was one poll that had him ranked 109th out of 128 Division I quarterbacks. If you bought that publication, you might as well burn it.
Absolutely. All right, quickly now. We're running out of time. Let's go to Missouri and South Carolina. And Missouri favored by 2.5, 3 points.
Yeah, and I think you got to go Mizzou here. Spurrier gets impatient if he's not able to strike quick, and the Missouri defense is going to frustrate the Gamecocks. I like Missouri. It's going to be a barn burner, 17-13.
Watch Lorenzo Nunez in his Heisman campaign. Clemson, I just saw now a 1.5 favorite over Notre Dame.
Yeah, and each of the Notre Dame wins, after they won them, they look great. They beat Texas, but then Texas loses 2 games. They beat Virginia on the road, comeback fashion, and Virginia gets waxed at home by Boise 56-14. Then they beat Georgia Tech as a home dog, and Georgia Tech loses to Duke. I'm not impressed. Clemson, 16 days to prepare. They're 18-2 straight up at home. Deshaun Watson, This might be his Heisman campaign here. Clemson wins one for the ACC, 26-21.
All right, and your game of the week's a dandy, Georgia, Alabama.
Yep, they want to get this. Just call 800-400-9741. First 10 callers will get it. And I love to fly on that 747 jet. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce my 747 special. 7 games in college football, just $47. That's right. 7 games on Saturday, $47. And if I don't win, I'm going to back it up, and I'll give you Sunday for free. So 7 for 47, ParamountSports.com, or 800-400-9741.
That is a deal that you cannot lose with. Thank you so much, my friend Lee Sterling. Sterling Picks here on Sports Talk. He likes the Clemson Tigers. He likes the Missouri Tigers. We shall see. Recruiting in a moment. Total offense leader in the SEC, Chad Kelly, 319 yards per game. Your passing leader in the SEC at 305 yards per game, Chad Kelly. You do that in the SEC, you're going to be in the hunt for the Heisman, especially if you have marquee wins. He's got one marquee win on the road at Alabama. If he gets another marquee win on the road at Florida tomorrow, Chad Kelly has to be talked about among your top contenders for the Heisman. He has to be. If not, you're not being fair. For whatever reason, you're holding some sort of grudge against him. Not you, K-Mac. I'm talking about anybody else. He has to be. Now, recruiting. It could be a tough weekend for Clemson recruiting-wise. You know, this was to be a big weekend for them with a ton of recruits of all ages coming in for this game. You wonder how the weather will impact those guys trying to get to Clemson. We shall see. I would imagine that offensive lineman Cade Stewart from Daniel will get over there. He's 6'3", 300. His mother played volleyball for the Tigers. He camped at Clemson, USC, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and was in the Shrine Bowl Combine. Don't forget the Shrine Bowl rosters come out on Monday. Brent Venables sees him a lot because his son is a linebacker for the Lions, and Clemson's interested. They're going to continue to recruit him, and they want him to stay hopeful about getting an offer. He has offers from Furman, Presbyterian, Charlotte, and the Citadel. Obviously, he'd love an offer from Clemson, though he says he kind of wants to make his own path. And even though Daniel's been a pipeline to Clemson, he wants to see what else is out there, but if Clemson's best for him, then so be it. He's been to Furman. He's been to Charlotte for games this season. He'll go to Presbyterian, too. Currently a lean to Charlotte because of the FBS status. He also likes the educational opportunity at Furman. USC is still recruiting New Jersey teammates Brad Hawkins Jr., receiver, defensive end Ron Johnson Jr. They're out of Camden. They're both committed to Michigan, but they both looked at USC very strongly before committing to Michigan midsummer. They both have set official visits with USC for November 14th. And Hawkins told us last night that he's remained in touch with G.A. Mangus, and they're still going to look at their options and see what else is out there, though both are still firmly committed to Michigan at this point. And 5'6" Cameron Roach, a guard from the Lower Richland girls basketball team, committed to Kentucky today. South Carolina was strongly in on her as well, but she opted to commit to Kentucky. So one in the backyard of Dawn Staley getting away from the Gamecocks this time. All right, there you go with recruiting. Don't forget to check out our recruiting on the website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, you can ring it up by using the hashtag STRecruiting. Top of the hour break is upcoming. We've got Buddy Pugh coming your way in the next hour. We've got the full Monty on NASCAR coming your way in the next hour. More on Clemson, Notre Dame, USC, Missouri. More of your calls, too. We'll be back in a moment.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We are back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth in St. Louis. Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. They are back at our studios in Columbia with the state man, Graham Polk. So I come to St. Louis, and the Cardinals go to Atlanta to close out the regular season for them, to close out the season for the Braves. Our Braves were brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians achieve their financial goals, and by Elite Roofing and Restoration, the most reliable roofers in the Palmetto State. Their number 803-753-0530. So, Mike Morgan, it mercifully comes to an end this weekend.
It does. It actually comes to an end with some interesting pitching matchups, including Tehran, who's pitched much better of late, against Garcia, has been a big reason why the Cardinals have been able to be so good, even when they lose their ace for most of the year in Adam Wainwright. And then on Saturday, they might just break out champagne and do a dog pile on the mound if Shelby Miller actually wins a game. Yeah. I'm halfway kidding. I'm not entirely sure I am, though. There is going to be some kind of celebration if that poor guy actually wins a game on Saturday. So from that standpoint, it's interesting. And also for the fans, it's their last chance to see the team. And obviously it's been a rough year, but you love a lot of fans that still come out, and the Cardinals only come once a year because of the ridiculous scheduling that they do in Major League Baseball. But yep, it's come to an end. It has been without a doubt the longest season that I've ever covered. But that's just the nature of the beast. Every now and then you got to rebuild, and that's obviously what the Braves did this year.
Well, you say that, but I mean, I'm sure if you polled Braves fans, they would say have to rebuild at midseason. We're right there in the hunt. And all of a sudden, they started tearing the team apart.
Yeah, well, you know, John Hart was very upfront about that. I don't think they went into this season in full-out tank mode. What happened was they got to the All-Star break, and they were kind of hovering around 500, and still, like you said, they were in it. Then Freddie Freeman goes down. You could tell that was going to be one of those lingering injuries. Then their closer, Grilly, goes down for the year. Certain other things started happening injury-wise, and production started falling. And I think at that point the feeling was, look, why go ahead and try to compete when you're going to fall just short versus getting the rebuilding mode kind of a year ahead of schedule. And that way you don't have to look at next season as another rebuilding year, but a year where they actually hope to compete. At least that's what they're saying. We'll see what kind of moves they make. So that was the rationale, and I can understand it because honestly, after those injuries back in early July, this team was not going to compete with the Mets. They still didn't have enough artillery.
All right, Mike, listen, we've appreciated the Braves reports all season long. And, of course, you'll be with us as we go on through football season into basketball season, joining us periodically to share your thoughts about football and basketball and other things. Mike Morgan with us here on Sports Talk. Of course, you can catch Mike doing college football play-by-play, and on Sunday, radio play-by-play nationally of the Falcons and the Bucks. All right, there's more football than just USC and Clemson tomorrow. One of the top games in the States will be South Carolina State at Furman. Been a little while since the Bulldogs last played. Their last game was September 17th. That was that Thursday night game, the same night Clemson played at Louisville. And the Bulldogs beat Florida A&M in Orangeburg 36-0. So they've had a lot of time to get ready for the Paladins, who seem to be getting better now. And they beat Central Florida the other day, and I think they're feeling pretty good about themselves. We've got state coach Buddy Pugh with us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Coach. How are you?
Fine, Phil. How are you all this evening?
We're good. We're good. Glad to have you with us. And I know you're keeping an eye on the weather in the upstate, too. What kind of conditions do you think you guys will be playing under tomorrow?
Well, who knows? They say it's going to rain like you wouldn't believe, but now it's just misting a little bit here now. I'm outside right now, and it's not raining at all.
Yeah, and of course they have an artificial surface there at Furman, so you're not going to have to deal with mud and all that. Though it could, I don't know, on those surfaces you've got experience with that too at your place. I mean, when it rains a ton, like it might rain, I know they drain pretty well, but how does it affect the traction?
You know what, Phil? It's not bad. That's one of the better things about having turf, the fact that you get pretty good grip regardless. And we practice at a good bit in the rain, and I don't think you have any problems at all now. You can have some issues sometime with with the balls and that kind of stuff moving around. But besides that, I think it's fine.
Okay. What have you guys focused on since you last played?
Well, I guess we first had a chance to heal up some. Besides that, we did get a chance to work a good bit on Furman and to try to get ready for them. We probably should have maybe done a little bit for Bethune-Cookman too, because we played them in 5 days, which is kind of crazy. We go 2 games in 12 days, 3 games in 12 days, and then you got 16 days off, and you got 2 in 5. So we're trying to figure out exactly how you put this thing together. But we did do a little bit of our preparation for both games.
All right. Caleb York remaining your quarterback going into this one?
Yeah. Caleb's going to start for us again tomorrow. And L.A., Adrian Collick is still not quite full speed. So we'll see if we can get Caleb to another one. And at that point, maybe we can have L.A. ready for our next game.
How much of your emphasis in getting ready for Furman was getting him a lot of repetition in practice and bringing him along quickly?
Well, that'd be a big part of the deal. Anytime you got a freshman kid who's just kind of, right out of high school that way, it's big to get him as much practice as we can. And we tried to get him a bunch, but now we're trying to get L.A., Adrian, back up to speed again, too, and he's maybe about 60%. So we did get him some work also. When
Adrian's healthy, does he step back in as starter?
Well, we'll see. It's all about how they play. Up to this point, Caleb's really been special now, and we think he's got a chance to be, a real quarterback kind of guy. L.A., though, is an athletic guy, who's got some experience and can move our football team. So, I think both guys will play, but we'll figure out exactly what we got once we get them both back to full and healthy.
All right. Looks like Coach Fowler's got a pretty good club. I saw them play Coastal Carolina. That game could have gone either way. They go down and they beat Central Florida. They beat VMI last week. And Reese Hannon, very, very good quarterback. What are some of your thoughts defensively about going up against him?
Well, you're exactly right. They are extremely good on offense. And Reese Hannon's the real deal. The Suttles kid outside, good wide receiver, the offensive line's good. So, I think they got all the parts to be a good-looking traditional style team that Furman generally has up there. They're looking more like the old teams back to Coach Bacon, Coach Sheridan's kind of teams, Bobby Lamb's teams that they used to have. So I think they're really good on offense, and then defensively, they're nothing to shake a stick at either. They've got the inside linebacker guys, the Magwood kid from down at Wade Hampton, and another bunch of kids in there that are really, hard-nosed kids that can run. Their safeties are extremely good. So, it's a good football team through and through, and they kick it good. The Hollingsworth kid kicked the 50-some odd yard field goal to win the Central Florida game. So they got all the parts.
Yeah. The thing is, you mentioned the kicker. He's got a big leg. They cross midfield and go a little bit farther. They're in field goal position.
You're right. You get points. He's from over in Greenwood, and we tried to recruit him a little bit when he came out of high school. But this guy's really a good kicker.
You guys went up to no, they came to your place last year, and you beat them 17-7. Some of the things that you did last year, you go back and look at that. You try and reapply it going into this game.
That'd be great if we could. The big part of the game last year was that the Darius Wilder played really well for us, and we ran a lot of the zone read stuff. We don't quite have that style of quarterback available to us this year, so you don't get much out of last year's film. And then they had so many guys out. You know, they had defensive guys out, they had offensive guys out, so their center was out. You know, this was almost a totally different team from last year's team health-wise. So, you know, they're feeling pretty good about themselves because they got all their players back and they stayed healthy, whereas, you know, we've got pretty much the same group, maybe a player a few less than last year.
Let's mention your defense so far. Looks like it's playing really well, and you're getting a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback so far.
Well, we need to, and that's kind of our style of play. We've gotten a reputation for always being able to rush the passes from both the inside and the outside. Our big guy, you know, in the middle has been really special. He's rushed the pass like you would believe, and Ray Jones and those guys outside, you know, has rushed the pass pretty good too. So we can get after pretty good, and then our linebackers are decent. Our defense has really been, you know, probably about as good as any we've had in a while. We didn't play so good against Coastal. We get a chance to redeem ourselves tomorrow against this offensive front, and hopefully we go out and show them that we're a better defense than we were in that game.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, where do you think your team is? Are you closer to the team that beat Arkansas Pine Bluff and beat Florida A&M, or are you closer to the team that got handled at home by Coastal?
Well, I think tomorrow will be a good indicator, you know, a good measuring stick for exactly where we are. You know, I don't know sometimes, Phil. I think we are closer to what you saw before that, but, you know, that daggum, again, still sticks in our craw a little bit. So we got to figure it out, and now's the time.
No concern about playing your game tomorrow. Everything is on go.
Well, as far as we know right now, unless they do something weather-wise that, you know, that we hadn't had a real way to, you know, to predict, then I think we'll be okay. Lightning and thunder is really the only thing that stops you from playing. You know, I don't know if there'll be anybody there but the two teams, but at the same time, we are going to play a football game unless there's something that happens that, you know, precludes us from being able to actually play.
All right, Coach. As always, we thank you for the visit, and good luck to you tomorrow night, 7:04. And it's on ESPN3 for those who decide not to go and stay home and watch it. They can catch it there. But nothing like being at the stadium, even if you're sitting there in your rain gear. Get out there. Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. Good talking to you.
All right, Phil. Thank you guys for having us.
You got it. All right, Buddy Pugh from South Carolina State. Let's give you our picks and update you on the Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge for this year. The newcomer, the rookie, Kevin Cohen from the Point Radio in Columbia. He has stormed out to a 26-14 record, 6-4 last week. He leads us. In second is Matt the Newsman, 5-5 last week, 22-18 overall. In third, it's a tie between your humble host and the professor. We're both 21-19. I was 5-5 last week. Pro was 4-6. And State Man 3-7 last week. He's 500, 20-20. And K-Mac, once again, residing in the basement, 4-6 last week, 19-21.
Well, you're still trying to take wins away from me. You're shafting me.
But
the thing is, I have to audit you every week, and if I don't have a chance, some weeks I don't have a chance, and I make the mistake of taking you at your word, and then I go back and look at it and realize that I get a loss somehow when everybody else gets a win for the exact same game. I don't understand your method.
In the words of the Jerry Maguire movie, K-Mac, my word, it's as strong as oak. Remember that scene?
That's a sick oak.
Yeah. Back in a moment. All right, let me give you our picks for this weekend and see who makes the big move. All right, West Virginia, Oklahoma. Everybody took Oklahoma except for me. I'm taking the Mountaineers and the points. Mississippi State, Texas A&M. I'm taking Mississippi State, and Kev Cohen's taking Mississippi State. Everybody else is taking the Aggies.
You love Mississippi State almost as much as you love Chad Kelly.
I'm big on the
Mississippi School.
Magnolia State this year. Big on the Magnolia State. Well, now listen, if Dak Prescott win, and he has another big game, he's going to once again be a Heisman candidate as well as he was last year. Arkansas at Tennessee, and let's see. Pro's taking Arkansas. K-Mac's taking Arkansas. Everybody else is taking Tennessee. Florida, Ole Miss, and of course Gator Boy Kev Cohen. He'll take Florida. And K-Mac's taking Florida. Pro's taking Florida. The rest have Ole Miss, so we kind of split that one. Georgia, Alabama, another split pick here. I've got Georgia along with Matt the Newsman and Kev Cohen. The rest are taking Alabama. Florida State across the board, except Matt the Newsman is taking the points. He likes waking the points. Louisville, NC State, Pro and me are taking NC State. The rest are taking Louisville. Tar Heels and Georgia Tech, another split. I've got the Tar Heels, State Man, and Kev Cohen also have the Tar Heels. The rest taking Tech, USC, Mizzou, and it's me and Pro and K-Mac and Kev Cohen taking the Gamecocks, State Man and Matt the Newsman taking Mizzou. And looky here, we're all taking Clemson, which is now Clemson laying 1.5. Does that change anybody's mind?
Yeah, can I change my pick with the rain? Honestly, I do think the rain and the home field is kind of neutral field now. They're both playing on an awful track, and the fans, how crazy and wild and jacked up are they going to be sitting in a torrential downpour for several hours?
You underestimate Tiger fans.
Sitting in traffic for 8 hours to get to the stadium.
Well, no. The traffic was going to be streaming in all day. There will not be a terrific
That's
backup
not what
going in.
That's not what the Gov said.
Well, she never has to stay in traffic anyway. What does she care?
She said it's going to take a long time to get in and a long time to get out. That's what she said.
She's wrong.
Pope,
She's wrong.
Play the clip, Pope. Play the clip. Play it. I mean, she was very clear. She was very clear. And now if you're going to call our great governor a liar on statewide radio.
She's just wrong in her assessment, because I have been to dozens of night games at Clemson. Dozens.
Not under historic biblical rain.
It's all the more reason that people will come early. They're going to go early. They're going to
Animals are lining up 2 by 2 outside right now, Corn.
There will not be a backup going in, but coming out's going to be a whole nother story, especially if it's a last-minute game where everybody's there to the end, or Clemson wins and everybody stays to the end. The only way it's not a backup leaving is if Clemson is getting blown out and people are leaving like they were against Florida State years ago in the third quarter. I know that for a fact because I was stuck outside talking to policemen and everybody was leaving. Back in a moment.
You're going to encounter very slow traffic going in, very slow traffic going out, and people don't always know how to drive in weather like this. And so that's the biggest part that I would say is, if you don't have to go, don't go. It is on TV. And I think that's best for everybody to know that. But if you do go, you need to plan for a lot of standing traffic, and you need to plan for a lot of rain and a lot of mud in that football game.
Friday edition of Sports Talk presented by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Give you a couple of other quick things. The Coastal Carolina game tomorrow against Alabama A&M. It's homecoming. They've moved that game up to a 2 o'clock kickoff. Charleston Southern began basketball practice today. I think they might be the first D1 team in the state to open up basketball practice. USC opens up on Monday. I think Clemson opens up practice on Monday as well. Charleston Southern, the reigning Big South Conference regular season champions. USC baseball player, outfielder Dom Thompson Williams suffered a right shoulder injury in practice. He's out for the rest of fall, expected to be fully recovered by the start of spring drills. All right. That time of the night on a Friday night during NASCAR season where we dive into the full Monty on NASCAR. We welcome in our good friend Monty Dutton from MontyDutton.com. And what are you hearing about the weekend? Everything washed out today. What's it looking like up there for the race?
It looks a lot better, but it still depends on the vagaries of that storm. I mean, it looks better than it does down here. You're in the right Columbia, I understand.
I am. I'm actually in St. Louis, not too far from Columbia.
Yes, I'm familiar with the area. Carl Edwards is from there, and so I've actually spent a little time in Columbia, Missouri.
Mm-hmm. It's a big racing area, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of short track racing in Missouri. But it looks rough here tomorrow. I'm going to the Furman, South Carolina State game, and I'm not looking forward to that trip.
Yeah, we're just talking to Buddy Pugh, and he said it was lightly raining over there this evening, but they're going to play it. No plans on interrupting that game unless it's just such a horrible monsoon that they can't see, but hopefully it won't be that bad. So what does all this rain mean to the track? And no practice apparently at this point, no qualifying today. What's it going to mean, especially the early stages of the race on Sunday?
Well, the Dover track is paved in concrete. I think that probably makes it, as a general rule, more consistent a surface, although they do have a situation where rubber coats the concrete track and changes the handling characteristics. And anytime it rains, that'll change it because the rain always washes rubber off the track. And so if you had it, say, Saturday after the Xfinity race, it would change the track on Monday, but about halfway through the race, it'll be there. I think that it probably benefits the people who've historically good there. Jimmy Johnson just has come close. But probably if you're looking at two places where there's a driver that's dominant, you would probably look at Johnson at Dover and Kevin Harvick at Phoenix, which is the next to last race of the season. His winning there last year was as important to the championship because a year ago Harvick had to win at Phoenix to advance, and then he won at Homestead and won the championship. So I think that what's interesting to watch on Sunday is, you know, Johnson is in there safely. He's going to make the next round. But if he's really going to make a run, if he's really going to be like the Johnson who won 5 straight, then I think he needs to show some strength at Dover. And it's just so interesting about how one of my never-ending sources of amusement is how people overreact every week, and they just don't pay any attention until like last week. It's like sports writing has nothing but short-term memory in the modern age. And so if Johnson wins on Sunday and the race is run, or if he wins on Monday, whatever,
yeah,
it will all of a sudden, he'll rise up and it'll be, oh, watch out for Jimmy Johnson. You know, you shouldn't have ever stopped watching for him. And so it always amuses me how there's a feeding frenzy every week. And it's so predictable. And in most cases, it's fairly invalid. Johnson wins the championship. It won't because he wins at Dover. He wins at Dover all the time.
Yes, he does. Why does he win at Dover all the time?
I think part of it goes back to the fact that Hendrick Motorsports put a lot of emphasis on Dover back during the many, many years when Jeff Gordon was sponsored by DuPont, which is headquartered in Delaware. Mm-hmm. So I think that they have historically put a lot of emphasis on doing well at that track because of sponsorship in a way that's similar to the way that people some teams target, some teams are a factor at the plate races. Some teams are usually better than, but they obviously put a lot of influence on Talladega and Daytona. So I think sponsorship is the reason that you would do it Dover. And I really think that Johnson's success today has its origin in Jeff Gordon's dominance there during the 90s and early part of this century.
Mm-hmm. If Johnson leads a lap, that will be lap number 3,000 that he has led at Dover. About 600 more laps than number 2 among current drivers, Jeff Gordon. So that's an indication of his dominance there. Tony Stewart, your reaction to his decision to hang it up after next year?
Well, this whole ordeal that Tony has been through for the last few years sort of hits me personally, because Stewart was probably the race car driver that I was closest to during my years covering NASCAR. And I wrote a book about him one time. And when I was writing that book, I spent a lot of time with him. So I know Tony very well. Oddly enough, about this time last year, I never predicted it, never knew any inside information, but I had a feeling last year, or at least I had that feeling, that it wouldn't surprise me if Jeff Gordon stepped down, because Gordon's the type of guy who would know when to get out, who'd step out in his prime, who's got everything he wants. In Stewart's case, I was talking about this for a couple of weeks ago with a friend. Tony will never be happy when he's not driving a race car. He is a throwback to an earlier age. And so it didn't surprise me a bunch. As a matter of fact, I would have been shocked if he had said, I'm going to quit driving all around, because I expected him. I knew that I think Tony feels smothered by all the problems he has, and his refuge has always been short tracks. And so I think that he absolutely will go run a lot of short tracks and do some things that he wants to do, like maybe run the 24 hours of Daytona. He's never run the dirt race, the truck race at Eldora, the speedway he owns. And I think really that that all of the obligations, all the sponsor things, all the things you have to do when you're at Cup Star, I think that's what he's running away from. He'll still be around this team, but I think he'll have fun again. And for a variety of reasons, he hasn't had fun the last 2 years, and that's very understandable.
All right, back to the chase. We look at the bottom end of the standings, because only 12 move on to the next round after Dover, and Dale Jr. sitting there at number 12. Kyle Busch is 13, a point behind him. Then Paul Menard, Kevin Harvick. Of course, if one of those wins, they're going to move forward automatically. What do you see happening at the back end of the chase grid? You see Earnhardt Jr. possibly slipping out of the 12? You see somebody jumping up ahead of him, or some of the others?
I see somebody really big not being there. Harvick obviously pretty much to win, unless all kinds of crazy things happen. But I think the sport has a lot riding on this, because when you look at how television ratings have sagged with a channel, NBC Sports, that does a lot of races that a lot of people don't have on their systems, and some people probably, it just doesn't jump out at them the way ESPN does. I think a lot of people, I just think that, I think in this day when you got all these channels, I think half people don't even know they got NBC Sports, and when they do, and it's had an effect. And so NASCAR really needs something to keep the interest up. And if Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch are out after the first round, that's a big blow. And particularly if, look at the way it stacks up there at the bottom. You could have McMurray and Menard in, and Earnhardt and Busch out. And, Jamie McMurray and Paul Menard, they won't go after the second round, but they're quite capable of being consistent enough to slip into it.
Monty, great stuff as always. Hopefully we'll get the race in on Sunday and not have to worry about making it up next week. Monty Dutton, the full Monty on NASCAR. Back in a moment. Now let's continue to talk to some of our football coaches around the state. We turn our attention to Presbyterian College, the Blue Hose, going to take on Western Carolina up in the mountains, up in Cullowhee tomorrow. We welcome in Coach Harold Nichols to Sports Talk. And I guess the good thing about being up there, if it's raining heavy, it's going to be just running down the mountains and running down to us. So you guys shouldn't have too much of a problem.
Well, it put us up there, and I think we're going to get rain and some wind, but I really don't think it's going to be as bad up there as it is down here. So, I don't know whether to take an ARC or a bus up there, but we're going to get up there tomorrow afternoon and play. That's for sure.
Now they have artificial surface, don't they?
Yes, sir, they do. Which for us is really good because that stuff will hold up pretty good. It's one thing you worry about, and conditions like tomorrow is footing, and the good thing about that field turf is it holds up pretty good. It'll be slick in some spots, I'm sure, but it'll be better than probably playing on natural grass because that'll give a little bit.
All right, how you feeling about your team? You're 1-3, shut out by Chattanooga last week. Got a win over Campbell, lost at Charlotte, lost at Miami, 2 FBS teams. How are you feeling going into this one?
Well, I think that we've done some decent things here these first 4 weeks. We've had a difficult schedule. Chattanooga's a really good football team last week. It was definitely a defensive battle. It was 14-0 there in the fourth quarter, and we had turned the ball over on our own 11 and really didn't do much all night offensively. Now, I thought our defense played really well. We had a pick 6 and a fumble at our own 11. They gave them 2 of those scores. So, our defense only gave up really 7 points. And so I've been really pleased with the way that they've played. We've been inconsistent offensively. We need to get that going if we're going to have a chance to beat a good Western Carolina team tomorrow.
Yes, that's for sure. You're getting a good season so far from Darrell Bridges, however, averaging over 100 rushing yards per game. That tells me your offensive line is doing some good stuff up front when it comes to running the football to some degree.
Yeah, our offensive line has played well at times during the year. Darrell's had a good year up to this point, been healthy for the first time really in his whole career, and been able to get some carries and really played well up there against Miami of Ohio. We were down 13-7 with about 12 minutes to go, and it turned the ball over some offensively up there and didn't give ourselves a chance. But our offensive line play is going to be big tomorrow. Especially in conditions like that we're going to play in. It's going to be definitely a line of scrimmage game, that's for sure. Got some young guys we've kind of put in on the left side over there that's kind of grown up a little bit these first 4 weeks of the season. And, I think we're going to get better there. And hopefully we get better tomorrow afternoon.
Well, I got to believe you're a little disappointed, maybe concerned about your passing game. No touchdown passes thrown yet. Tamin Garrick completing about 39% of his passes. He's much better passer than that. What's happening in your passing game?
Well, it's been a combination of a couple things. Our offensive line gelling together and giving those guys time to throw the football has been a big part of it. And, we played some pretty good football here early part of the year. Again, mentioned Chattanooga from last week. Miami of Ohio and Charlotte are really good up front in the front 7. And, really got a lot of pressure on our quarterbacks. They really haven't had a lot of time to throw the football. And so hopefully, like I say, with our offensive line gelling, get those guys a little bit cleaner looks at some of the routes. And then we got to be able to execute in the passing game, take some pressure off of Bridges and our running, and moving forward. I think that, again, the offensive line play will be a big part of that and get a little bit better consistency in the passing game.
What's your scouting report on Western this year?
Well, they're a similar football team to us. They played a difficult schedule, too. I think they beat Marshall the first game. They lost to Tennessee. They lost to a pretty good Citadel team down in Charleston. So they're eager to kind of get back on the winning track. They had an open date last week in preparation for us, so I'm sure we'll see some new wrinkles tomorrow. But two similar football teams, two teams that have played really good schedules and haven't won as much as what they would have liked, but two teams are eager for a win. So Coach Spear, their head coach up there, and I were assistants together back in the late 90s here at PC. He's a very good football coach and has done a good job with that program up there. So, it's going to be a tall task for us, a tough challenge, but one that we've got to go up there and get.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to you. Hopefully the weather won't impact you too much. And let's see if you can go up in the mountains and get yourself a big win.
Well, Phil, I appreciate you guys having me on. That's the plan. You guys stay dry down there in Columbia.
I'm actually in Missouri where it's sunshiny and, 60-something degrees here today. It's a little cooler here in the evening, but tomorrow is supposed to be really nice here in Missouri. So I will bring back some sunshine with me when I come back on Sunday. Coach, thank you very much. Best of luck to you tomorrow up in Cullowhee, and we'll be back in just a moment. Couple of things here to clean up, a couple of errors to correct. First of all, Mike Morgan is not doing the Falcons and the Bucks. I had the Panthers and the Bucks on my mind. He's doing the Falcons and the Texans to Sunday. Make sure we get that right. And Clemson opens basketball practice tomorrow. South Carolina opens on Monday. Charleston Southern opened up today. And I do want to thank all of you who have sent cards and well wishes and congratulatory notes to me over the Yankees qualifying for the playoffs again for the 52nd time in baseball history. Also winning their 10,000th game last night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Looking forward to making a run at our 28th ring. Where will I put that ring? Let's see. I've got 27 of them.
Better make it a bathtub ring.
I got to figure out where I would stick that ring. Okay, man, where should I put that ring when I get number 20?
I can think of a place where you could put that ring.
Anyway, looking for, really next week truly begins the greatest period of sports in a year because you've got the baseball playoffs going, you got the NFL, you got college football, you got the chase, you got NBA camps opening up. 20. What are you saying, State Man? What?
You mentioned
25?
The NBA is 25 days until NBA tip off.
Yeah, that's right. I got that. So it's a great time. It's a great time to be alive. I just hope the state of South Carolina is still there. I hope when I fly back on Sunday, the coastline isn't, say, up around Newberry County. That concerns me. That I'm going to see the coast up around Newberry.
Hey, my property value will go up a little bit.
Here's the good news. When you come back, South Carolina will no longer be in a drought.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
Let me check some high school out there in Twitterverse. Newberry leading Keenan 14-7, third quarter. McBee leading Louisville 7-0 after a quarter. Dutch Fork leading Irmo 28-0. That's in the third. What else? Looking. Northwest is leading 14-0 in its game. And let's see. Don't know who they're playing off the top of my head. Again, I wish these guys would tweet out both teams, but hey, that's them, not me. Hartsville 8, Marlboro County nothing. Malden, this could be a stunner. At the half, Malden is leading Dorman 17-7. Chapin leading Richland Northeast 28-8, fourth quarter. Don't forget our scoreboards tonight, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11. You'll get more scores in 5 minutes, and you get on any other scoreboard show in the state in 2 hours. Keep that in mind. K-Mac, have a safe trip to the upstate.
Will do. Taking the pontoon.
You be safe on your couch. Same to you, State Man. Everybody have a safe night, and we'll talk to you later on the scoreboard shows.